Mid-Ohio Valley Chamber of Commerce held its Lunch and Learn meeting with the focus on understanding 401k and retirement plans. Officials with Hall Financial Advisors came to the meeting to discuss with business owners and community members the options available to find the right retirement plan for themselves. The president and CEO of the Mid-Ohio Valley Chamber of Commerce, Jill Parsons, says these meetings help chamber members with the different services available. McKean with Hall Financial Advisors gives some tips on how business owners can plan for retirement.
One of our goals, obviously, as a chamber membership is so that our members can learn about the different services and other businesses that are in the community. And so today's topic obviously being about, for your small business, how to plan for retirement for your employees. Just very important to make those connections for our chamber members.
First is make sure you're contributing at least enough to get the company match. Two, as you approach retirement, I think your allocations should look a lot different than a 30-year-old. And then the last thing is putting together a plan. I think it's extremely important as you approach retirement to have a plan built out so that you can weather some of the unexpected things that happen in retirement.
Parsons adds that these Lunch and Learn sessions that happen once a month are very important. She says it gives chamber members networking opportunities and the chance to learn something that can help their business or nonprofit.